When I got sick, it wasn't quiet. It didn't creep up on me in subtle symptoms or give me time to process. It slammed into my life like a freight train. Unavoidable, devastating, humiliating. One day, I was powering through the final semester of college, prepping for senior thesis presentations, holding down 2 part-time jobs and dreaming about grad school. The next, I was curled up on a hospital bed with an oxygen tube in my nose and a medical bracelet digging into my wrist. My body had betrayed me. My immune system, they said, had collapsed into itself. They called it a rare and severe post-viral autoimmune crash, a cascade failure that made it hard for my body to fight off even the simplest infections. Recovery wouldn't be impossible, but it wouldn't be short or cheap. I remember the moment I realized how broke we were. It wasn't when the first hospital bill came. It wasn't even when my mom whispered to the nurse, "Can we split this into payments?" No. It was the day I overheard my dad pacing the hallway outside my room, yelling into his phone. "We already used the rainy day account, and the house equity's gone. What do you want me to do? Sell the truck?" I couldn't move. I just stared at the IV line snaking out of my arm, thinking, they can't afford to keep me alive. And then came the idea. The fundraiser. It was my mom's voice that started it all, trembling and just loud enough for sympathy. She sat on the edge of my hospital bed, gently holding my hand with her phone camera facing us as she began. "Hi, everyone. This is really hard for us. Our daughter Camilla. She's 22. She's smart. She's kind. And she's sick." That video went viral faster than I expected. My family's church friends shared it first. Then my old teachers. Then people I hadn't spoken to in years, posting my story with captions like, "Please help this sweet girl get the care she needs. She doesn't deserve this." Donations began pouring in, $10 from my high school choir director, $250 from my dad's coworker, $1,000 from an anonymous donor with the note, "For the girl who used to walk my dog after school." In less than a month, the GoFundMe hit $86,000. I cried the night it did. Not from pride, from relief. I thought I could finally afford to heal, to live without being a burden, to pay for the medication my insurance wouldn't cover. Maybe even move into a small place closer to outpatient rehab, buy a used car, start fresh. Everyone told me I was lucky, that my family was brave, that I was blessed to have such a strong support system. I believed it. I believed it. Right up until the day I got out of the hospital. That was the day I found out what they really did with the money. It was supposed to be a quiet homecoming. After nearly 5 months in and out of hospitals, followed by 2 months of immunotherapy and physical rehab, I finally came home. I thought they'd meet me at the door with open arms. I thought I'd get one of those warm, "we missed you" moments. Maybe even a hug that didn't feel so orchestrated. Instead, no one was home when the Uber dropped me off. Just a note on the kitchen counter in my mother's slanted cursive. "Groceries ran late. Left dinner in the fridge. Welcome home, sweetheart." The sweetheart part was underlined, as if she was trying to make up for the rest with a flourish. I didn't even unpack. I just sat at the dining table and stared at the cold plate of reheated salmon and broccoli. That night, Juliana came breezing in, hair curled, nails perfect, phone glued to her ear as usual. She paused just long enough to glance over and say, "Hey, you look better." Then she walked right past me, trailing perfume and attitude. My parents followed her, and 5 minutes later, arms full of takeout. For themselves. Oh, honey, Mom said with a surprised laugh. We thought you'd be resting. You didn't have to wait up. I didn't say anything. Not yet. The next day, I asked Dad if he could take me to look at used cars. Something simple. 4 wheels and reliable brakes. I couldn't keep asking for rides from Yasmin forever. Besides, the fundraiser had been more than enough. Camilla, he started, looking uncomfortable. That money's... well, most of it's gone. I blinked. What? He sighed and scratched the back of his neck. We had to make some decisions. You weren't able to manage the account yourself. And we thought it was best to prioritize what the family needed. I felt the ground shift beneath me. What the family needed? Juliana got that internship downtown. Mom chimed in, as if that answered anything. It's high profile, like Fortune 500 company level. She needed a car to get there, so we got her one. A safe one. A safe one? My voice was flat. An electric car, she said carefully. It's eco-friendly, low maintenance, good for long commutes. You bought Juliana a Tesla. Silence. My mother folded her arms. She drives more than you. You're still in recovery. You don't even work right now. And you used my fundraiser for it. It was never just yours, she snapped, tone sharp now. That money came from our network, our church, our friends, people who donated out of love for this family. Not just you. And don't act like you didn't benefit. We paid for all your treatments, didn't we? I couldn't breathe. The fundraiser had raised over $80,000. My bills had totaled around $45,000. There should have been plenty left over. Enough for the cheap apartment I was planning to move into. Enough for the used car I'd bookmarked on Craigslist. Enough to feel like I could finally start rebuilding a life again. Instead, my sister was now cruising down the freeway in a pearl white Model Y with a vanity plate that said, Jules won. That night, I sat in the corner of my room scrolling through the GoFundMe page on my old laptop. I hadn't visited it in months, not since I got sick. I reread every donation message, sending love for Camilla's healing journey, for her meds, her therapy, whatever she needs to recover. We believe in you, Camilla. They donated to me, not to my sister, not to our family in general. Me. Then I noticed something else. The description of the fundraiser had changed. It no longer mentioned specific treatments or mobility equipment. It had been updated. Now it read, This fund supports Camilla's journey and our family's needs during this difficult season. Your generosity helps all of us stay strong as we face these medical and financial burdens together. They rewrote my story. They used my illness as a stepping stone to pad their lives. They siphoned sympathy from people who cared and used it to reward Juliana for being alive and pretty and conveniently healthy. And now I was supposed to be grateful for leftovers and lectures? That was the moment I knew. I wasn't done being sick. I was just starting to get angry. For the first few days, I tried to push it down. The rage, the betrayal, the disbelief that the people I once defended to everyone, my supportive family, had turned me into a walking pity campaign and then spent the proceeds like they'd won the lottery. I didn't say anything. Not yet. But I started watching. I watched how Mom beamed when Juliana pulled into the driveway and the Tesla's doors lifted like wings. I watched how Dad offered to clean her windshield and rearrange the garage to make room for her new car, even though I'd had to beg for gas money a year ago. And I watched Juliana smile like she deserved it all. like the $60,000 prize parked in the driveway was hers by divine right. No one mentioned me. No one asked if I had food in my room or whether my meds were running low. I was just there, like furniture. But I wasn't going to stay quiet. It started with the GoFundMe backend. I still had admin access because I had created the fundraiser, before getting too sick to manage it. My mom had asked for the login, just to update things, and I gave it to her without thinking. But she never changed the email on file. Maybe she didn't realize she could. Or maybe she thought I was too weak to ever log in again. Big mistake. Inside, I pulled the full donor list. Names, amounts, timestamps. I exported the CSV file, heart pounding as I scanned the figures. $86,429 total raised. $46,000 in medical bills covered, according to Mom. That left over $40,000 unaccounted for. The Tesla was listed online as a $61,000 vehicle. Maybe they put down a chunk of my fund as a down payment and financed the rest. Maybe they used more than just the GoFundMe money. But it was clear now. My body had been their bargaining chip, and they weren't even subtle about it. I needed more. So I went to the source, my Aunt Teresa. She was my mom's older sister and the only person in the family who had ever shown me consistent kindness that didn't come with strings. She didn't live nearby, but we talked. And she always made me feel like someone saw through the fog of my parents' performance. I texted her, "Hey, do you have a sec? Need to ask about the fundraiser." She called me within 10 minutes. Her voice was soft but firm. "Camilla, I've been waiting for this." My stomach flipped. "What do you mean?" "I told your mom not to touch the money unless it was for your treatments. I told her this wasn't for house renovations, or family upgrades, or anything like that. When I saw that Tesla in Juliana's Insta post, I almost flew down there myself." My throat closed. "So you know." "Oh, I know. I also know that your cousin saw your dad and Juliana at the dealership the same day. The second donation wave came in. That donation wave had pushed us from 53K to 80K in one weekend. They timed it. They waited for people to be generous. Then they took it and ran. After the call, I sat on the floor for a long time, laptop open, cold air blowing from the vent above. I stared at a blank Google Doc and slowly typed timeline of fundraiser usage, discrepancies, witnesses. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about justice. They had weaponized my illness and rewritten the narrative while I was too weak to speak. But I wasn't weak anymore. My immune system might still be fragile, but my memory wasn't. My anger wasn't. And now I had receipts. I didn't sleep much after that call with Aunt Teresa. It wasn't anxiety this time, not even heartbreak. It was something clearer, sharper, a kind of cold focus I hadn't felt since before the diagnosis, back when my mind was a weapon and not a battlefield. I was done crying. They spent weeks painting me as a helpless daughter, parading me online like a sympathy trophy. I was done playing sick. I was going to be the one holding the mirror up now. The next morning, I sat on the edge of my bed and emailed GoFundMe support. I asked how to download a list of donor contact emails. Within an hour, they responded. Due to privacy policies, they couldn't share email addresses unless the donor had given permission. But they had given something: names and comment logs. Dozens of them. Real people who thought they were helping me survive. Strangers who believed in my fight. I started writing messages to them through the platform's built-in thank you reply system. just a few lines each. Enough to plant a seed. Hi. I just wanted to say thank you. Your donation meant everything. I recently learned that not all of the funds were used for my recovery. Some were redirected elsewhere. I thought you should hear that from me. I didn't name names. I didn't point fingers. I just let the truth breathe. By the end of the day, over 20 people replied, half of them with confusion, a few with concern, and 2 with pure, raw rage. Wait, what do you mean the money was redirected? I donated for your recovery. They bought your sister a what? You should expose them. People like that deserve consequences. I screenshotted every response. Organized them in a shared folder. I wasn't sure what I'd do with it yet, but the act of filing the truth, piece by piece, was almost healing. Back home, the charade continued. Mom posted a throwback photo of me in the hospital, captioned, "So proud of our Camila's strength. Thank you to everyone who stood with our family during her fight. Your kindness made all the difference." The comments were full of clapping emojis and heart reactions. Juliana reposted it to her Instagram story with a white heart and a sparkle emoji, tagging me like it meant something. I watched it all from across the dinner table, where no one asked how my latest appointment went or whether my meds had been adjusted. The only time anyone spoke to me was when Dad asked if I could be quieter in the mornings. Juliana gets home late from work and needs sleep. Right. Wouldn't want to disturb the queen. The breaking point came one night when I overheard them talking in the kitchen. Mom's voice, hushed but sharp. She's acting distant, ungrateful. Then Dad. Maybe it's just post-treatment depression. She should be thankful we kept this family afloat. Then, Juliana, honestly, she should be thanking me. That car, I represent us well in it. I'm making us look strong. They all laughed. I didn't walk in. I didn't cry. I just picked up my phone and added a new tab in my notes app. Phase 2. Public Statement Prep. That weekend, I went to see Yasmin again. We hadn't talked much since I moved back in with my parents, but when she opened the door and saw my face, she knew. "I'll make tea," she said. "You can tell me everything." And I did. From the GoFundMe lies, to the Tesla, to the new fundraiser description, to the way they rewrote my illness like it belonged to them. Yasmin didn't say much until I finished. Then she leaned forward and said, "You know I run that local blog, right? The one that covers family spotlights, fundraising, and local stories?" I blinked. "Yeah." She smiled, just slightly. "We also do exposés. Quiet ones, documented, verified. I could feature yours." My heart beat in my throat. "You'd have to give me everything," she said gently. "Screenshots, names, receipts, all of it." "I have it." She raised an eyebrow. "Are you sure?" "I'm not just sure," I said. "I'm ready." I stayed up until 2 a.m. in Yasmin's apartment, the glow of her laptop screen lighting up our little corner of justice. We created a folder titled Operation Tesla Truth. Inside it, we sorted everything, screenshots of the GoFundMe edits, receipts from the original medical expenses, photos of the Tesla from Juliana's Instagram posts, time-stamped comments from donors, and even the original donation messages, each one like a breadcrumb of faith placed into the wrong hands. "This isn't just betrayal," Yasmin said, organizing the data like she was building a case for court. "This is emotional theft. They didn't just take money. They stole people's kindness, their trust." I nodded, but didn't speak. My throat tightened at the idea that I had been reduced to nothing more than a campaign prop. They'd used my body, my suffering, to posture as a struggling, heroic family, and they spent the empathy like it was credit. Yasmin drafted a feature for her blog under the working title, "The Price of Sympathy: How a Local Family Repackaged a Daughter's Illness." It wasn't personal, not yet. Names redacted, locations vague, just the pattern of what had happened. But the final paragraph made my chest tighten. When sympathy becomes a currency and illness becomes branding, we must ask, who really benefits and who's left behind? We read it together in silence. Then, she turned to me. "Do you want to publish this anonymously, or do you want your name on it?" I sat with the question. For so long, I had been too fragile to fight. Too sick, too disoriented, too manipulated. But now, I didn't want to whisper anymore. "Put my name on it," I said. "They used my face for the lie. Now they can see it attached to the truth." Before we hit publish, I gave my Aunt Teresa a call. She didn't hesitate. "You want me to go on record? Say less." We arranged a recorded call where she calmly confirmed what she knew. How the money was meant for me. How she warned my mother to use it ethically. How she watched Juliana post her new car online within days of the second donation surge. She even emailed us a voice memo. It broke my heart. I love my niece. I donated because I believed in her recovery, not to fund a luxury car. That sealed it. Yasmin uploaded the post at 7:04 p.m. on a Thursday. By 8:11, it had 2,000 views. By midnight, 10,000. And by morning, the comment section was on fire. "This is disgusting. Who does that?" I remember donating to this. "I feel sick." Expose them. Every name, every photo. "Justice for Camilla." Post the Tesla license plate. I'll do it. $86,000? For what? Juliana's clout? It hadn't even hit social media yet. But it was coming. Back, home, the shift was immediate. Dad was unusually quiet that morning, hovering around the kitchen table with a strange stiffness. Mom snapped at the coffee machine for dripping too slowly. Juliana didn't come downstairs at all. I stayed in my room. I didn't need to be near them anymore to feel their panic setting in. The silence was louder than any fight could have been, and then around noon, I got a text from Juliana. "Why are you doing this? No hi. No, how are you feeling?" Just guilt, curled into a question mark. I didn't answer. Instead, I pulled open my laptop and clicked the share link on the blog article. I pasted it into a status update. Added just 6 words. "This is my side of it," and hit post. The post had been up for less than 24 hours, and already the cracks were showing. At first, it was just whispers, a few likes, some quiet shares, mutual friends who slid into my DMs with cautious curiosity. "Is this about your parents? I donated to that fundraiser. Is it true? Camilla, this is huge. Are you okay?" But then the floodgates opened. By day 2, Yasmin's blog post had reached a local news aggregator, a Twitter account that specialized in controversial stories in our region. It reshared the article with the caption, "She got sick. They raised $80,000. She came home to find her sister driving a Tesla." And just like that, it went viral. The story hit Facebook next. People who had donated started commenting publicly, some with heartbreak, others with fury. I gave $500 thinking I was helping her survive. I didn't realize I was buying her sister a luxury car. I feel used. That money was for Camila. These parents should be ashamed of themselves. I hope there's legal action coming. This is why people stop donating to real causes. Absolutely disgusting. Some even posted screenshots of their original donations, proof that the generosity was real. That the betrayal was too. Someone found Juliana's Tesla on her Instagram feed and reshared the photo side by side with the article, with a caption that read, "This is what empathy theft looks like." Back at home, everything was cold silence. Stayed in my room. Doors slammed more than usual. There were hurried whispers behind walls, phone calls taken in corners. I knew they were spiraling, and the satisfying part was, I didn't have to say a word. By Saturday, the family group chat was in full meltdown. "Juliana, you've ruined my future. They're talking about me at the firm. HR saw it. Mom, Camilla, we need to talk. This has gotten out of hand. Dad, you're making us look like criminals. Take it down." But I didn't. Instead, I added a pinned comment to the blog post, linking to a new public document I'd created, breakdown of fundraiser use, as best as I can confirm. $45,630, medical bills, $11,800, car down payment, Tesla Model Y, $3,100, home repairs during my hospital stay, $1,000, makeup artist and stylist for Juliana's internship headshots, remaining balance, unknown. I also shared voice, clips from Aunt Teresa, affirming what she knew, and uploaded redacted screenshots of donor comments, just initials, dates, and what they thought their donations were for. I didn't have to accuse anyone. I just showed the math. By Monday, my dad's work had caught wind of it. He came home pale, lips tight. I heard him whisper to my mom in the hallway, "There's talk of a reputational inquiry. HR wants to meet. They think I misused community. Trust." That evening, I watched from the upstairs hallway window as Juliana removed her Tesla plates and tossed the custom ones, Jules 1, into the trash can like they burned her fingers. It was poetic. The car still sat in the driveway. Gleaming, silent, a monument to greed. The best part? I didn't have to threaten them. I didn't scream, didn't throw anything, didn't go off in person. I just documented. I told the truth with receipts and silence, and they were unraveling themselves, one thread at a time. The house had become a tomb. Every word echoed. Every door opened with hesitation. No one slammed things anymore, because now they knew everyone was watching. And still, I said nothing. My silence had power now. It had momentum, and it terrified them more than any confrontation ever could. On the third morning after the post went viral, I received a message from someone unexpected, Marina Velasquez. She was a friend of Aunt Teresa's. I barely remembered her from childhood birthdays, but she was always sharply dressed, quiet, intimidating in a polished way. Now she was an attorney, specializing in donor fraud and misuse of nonprofit funds. Her message was brief. "Camilla, I read the article. I've reviewed your documentation. I think your parents may have unknowingly committed multiple forms of civil fraud. If you're willing, I'd like to discuss your options." Options. I hadn't even dared to think that far. For me, this had always been about exposing the truth, not extracting revenge through courts or contracts. But there was something deeply satisfying in knowing that now, it wasn't just emotional weight behind my story. It was legal force. We scheduled a call that evening. Yasmin joined too, at my request. She had become more than a friend through this. She was my witness, my documentarian, my shield. Marina didn't waste time. "Camilla, by claiming donations under false pretenses, especially through a formal platform like GoFundMe, your parents may have breached the donor agreement. Terms. If the donors pursue it, they could file a collective claim. And the funds? They can demand return or restitution. You're in a good position, she continued, because you kept the original records. You never misrepresented yourself. They did that, using your name. If you want to clear yourself of liability and reframe this publicly and legally as fraud against you, not by you, I can help. I looked at the quiet screen. Marina, Yasmin, a growing storm behind me, and a life ahead that was mine to rewrite. I want my name cleared, I said slowly. I want people to know I didn't ask for this to happen, and I want them to stop using my pain as their resume. She nodded. Then we start with an affidavit and a statement. Back at the house, the facade was crumbling fast. Mom was on edge every hour. She unplugged the landline, blocked old friends on Facebook. When I passed her in the hallway, she muttered, "This has gone too far, Camilla." But she never apologized. That's how I knew it wasn't remorse. It was fear. Dad came to my door once, just stood there, quiet. After a moment, he said, "If we lose the house over this, it'll be your fault." I looked up from my laptop, where I was drafting a timeline for Marina. I didn't flinch. "No. You lost the house the moment you sold my story." He didn't reply. Later that night, I received another email, this time from a woman named Claire. She had donated $1,000 to my fundraiser, back when she thought it was helping me access a special therapy. Her husband had passed from a similar illness the year before. She was drawn to my story because it reminded her of what she couldn't save. "Camilla, I want you to know, your bravery in speaking out has restored my faith in something. Maybe not in people, but in the truth. If there's a legal case, I'll support you. If you need testimony, I'll give it. That money was for you. And I'm sorry it didn't reach you the way it should have." I cried reading her message. Not out of grief, not out of pain, but because it reminded me that no matter how dark the betrayal, the truth always has allies. The affidavit was filed a week later. Marina helped me submit a formal legal declaration stating everything I knew, everything I'd documented, and the timeline of events, down to the date they first changed the fundraiser description. We didn't sue them. We didn't have to. Because the real justice? It came in waves, soft and surgical, like the very illness they once exploited. 3 weeks after the blog post went live, GoFundMe reached out directly. They had launched an internal investigation. Multiple donors had submitted refund claims. Several cited misrepresentation, attaching screenshots of their donation receipts with comments like, "For Camilla's treatment, not a Tesla." The platform's legal team contacted my parents through the email linked to the fundraiser. Within days, the fundraiser was permanently taken down, and my parents were flagged on the platform. The funds they hadn't spent froze. The Tesla still parked in the driveway. Useless now. The real unraveling came with the community fallout. My father was quietly placed on leave from his job at the regional bank. They didn't cite the article directly, but everyone knew. Mom resigned from her position at the PTA board. No one asked her to. But after 3 board members sent a letter to the superintendent calling her actions a betrayal of public trust, she didn't show up to the next meeting. And Juliana? She was asked not to return to her internship after the optics became a distraction. HR framed it gently, but she knew. Everyone knew. The Tesla eventually vanished. Sold quietly, I may. Sure, but it didn't matter. By then, her name was already associated with one of the most shared digital scandals in town. I didn't gloat. I didn't scream. I didn't post follow-ups for attention or vengeance. I just lived. I moved in with Yasmin for a while, helping her write a follow-up series about donor ethics and the legal gray zones of family-controlled fundraisers. Together, we published a full timeline of what had happened, not for drama, but for awareness. We called the final entry, "Surviving the Story They Sold Without My Consent." We didn't use their names. We didn't have to. Everyone already knew. As part of the investigation conclusion, GoFundMe issued a $5,000 direct restitution payment to me from their donor protection program. It wasn't everything I had lost, but it was more than I ever expected. Marina helped me open a separate medical trust account with it, in my name. No more family management. I used it to finally lease a small, quiet apartment not far from the community library, a place with white walls, clean air, and silence that wasn't heavy. And most importantly, mine. On my last day in the house, I packed alone. They didn't help. They didn't even watch me leave. Maybe they were ashamed. Or maybe they still believed I'd overreacted. Either way, their silence wasn't mine to carry anymore. As I walked out the front door, I looked back only once. The place looked smaller, dimmer, like a theater after the play ends and the lights go up. A stage built on sympathy. And I'd finally walked off it. 1 month later, I opened the mailbox outside my new apartment to find a card. No name on the envelope. Inside was a note, written in careful handwriting. "We donated because we believed in you. Not your family. Not the story they sold. You were always the reason we clicked donate. We hope this helps restore some of what they tried to take." Tucked inside was a check for $2,000, anonymous. No return address, just belief. I sat on my porch that evening, wrapped in a blanket, tea in my hands, city lights blinking beyond the trees. I was scarred, but I was no longer broken. And as I watched, the sky softened to dusk, I thought. They used my illness for attention, but I used their betrayal for freedom. And that's the story I'll keep.